My name is Jonathan Gerard, and I'm honored to be participating as a teacher in this Wilmette Institute course on religion and science. My own career has always sought to find a balance between the sciences and the humanities. I started my college career as a pre-vet student at the University of Massachusetts uh, because I wanted to become a veterinarian. But over the course of my college years, I changed my mind and decided that I preferred to teach literature, specifically to look for enduring values in the teaching of literature. I earned a master's degree in teaching in English, but then went on to become a rabbi, which required 5 additional years of graduate study after my master's degree, because I found that the teaching of Jewish values and Jewish literature was especially rewarding. I have served congregations in southern Texas, in Brownsville, Texas, in Troy, New York, in Dover, New Hampshire, and in Easton, Pennsylvania, where I now live. Although, while teaching in several local congregations here in Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley, I also do a lot of marriage and family therapy, having earned a doctorate in this field while I was serving as a rabbi in New Hampshire. I'm a Reform rabbi, which means I have progressive or liberal views of Judaism. Or more accurately, I believe that the most traditional and accurate view of Judaism is a liberal one. Again, that is to say that I believe that Judaism is a religion and an outlook that is progressive, that continually modifies its teaching and its point of view according to all new truths, all new knowledge that we humans in all fields uncover over the course of our human story, over the course of our history. Let me just say something about how that would apply to one particular theological area of Judaism, the area of revelation. You may know that Jewish life is based on the teachings of Torah. Now, the word Torah has 2 meanings in Judaism. With a capital T, Torah refers to the scroll that you study regularly and keep in a special ark or cabinet in a sanctuary in a synagogue. This scroll contains the 5 books of Moses, what Christians call the Pentateuch. And it is, in fact, the constitution of ancient Israel. Or one might think of it in religious terms as a record of the relationship between God and the Jewish people. But the word Torah, also spelled with a small t, means much more than what's in that scroll. Small t Torah is the evolving body of knowledge that emerges from our ongoing historical relationship with God and from our ongoing study of the universe in which we live. You can see how both religion and science, therefore, overlap and have great meaning for us. What is revelation itself, particularly? Let me say this. We think of Torah often as a record of a covenant with God and the Jewish people. Now, a covenant, by definition, has 2 sides. You can't have a covenant with yourself. The 2 sides in the Torah, as I said, are God and the Jewish people. That means that the best way to understand the Torah is as a document and ultimately an historical series of evolving documents which record the truths of that relationship. Or to put it differently, the Torah contains 2 different truths. It contains God's eternal truth, and it contains human limited truth. How does that happen? Well, we know that God doesn't have a mouth or a voice or a pen. God communicates to human beings through our own consciousness, through our conscience, and also most likely through our experience of history. But the truths that we learn, the eternal truths that we discern from God, are filtered through our own intelligence, through our own mind. And our minds are limited. Our intelligence, our minds are infinite in some ways, but they are humanly limited in other ways. And so the truths that we perceive, or let me say, sometimes God's eternal truth does break through and we get it right. And the Torah contains much divine eternal truth. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not murder. Honor your mother and your father. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Don't lie. Always tell the truth. These seem to be eternal truths that we got right. But there are some teachings in the original scroll of the Torah, such as teachings having to do, for example, with slavery, or teachings that have to do with what looks like genocide, the wiping out of the Canaanite population in ancient Israel, or trivial teachings, seemingly trivial teachings, such as the prohibition against mixing different fabrics in our clothing. There are teachings in the Torah that seem to reflect the Israelite writer's point of view, but not necessarily God's point of view, that don't seem to be consistent with the eternal moral principles of a just God. How can we understand this? Well, if we understand the Torah as a record, a human record of the relationship with God, then we can understand that our ongoing progress in human knowledge helps us to improve, well, not to improve the record of the relationship doesn't improve, but our understanding of what God wants of us continually improves. And this is what we call progressive revelation, that our understanding of how God wants us to live, which is the primary goal of Judaism, to ask that question, how does God want me to live? Our understanding of that continually evolves as we learn more Torah, more about ethics, more from archaeology, linguistics, history, comparative literature, psychology, sociology, economics. All fields of human endeavor teach us more knowledge, and the more knowledge we have, the better capable we will be of discerning the eternal truths that we encounter when we have a relationship with God. A quick story. There's a debate, if you will, in the Talmud, an ancient Jewish text, between some rabbis who are not sure about how to set the new moon, something that was very important in the ancient world, because every Jewish month begins with the new moon. And so witnessing the new moon resulted in determining what days every holiday would fall on in that given month. So there was a debate over who ought to be the best witnesses of when the new moon occurred. Should the rabbis rely on Jewish astronomers who were not particularly known for their accuracy, or should they rely on Arab astronomers, pagan astronomers at the time, who were known to be the best astronomers around? The conclusion was that we rely on Arab astronomers, even on pagan astronomers, because truth is the most important value here, and truth inevitably will lead to God. Science establishes truth, scientific truth. And so in our unfolding understanding of the universe, scientists will help us understand religious truth. And as we pursue religious truth, we are always compelled to understand scientific truth, which helps us to reject older knowledge that we thought may have been true, but new knowledge helps us to understand these older narratives and stories and prescriptions and commandments and teachings much better in the light of new knowledge. As a rabbi, it is my task with my congregation and fellow Jews to learn as much as possible. It's the goal of life, and to apply the teachings both of religion and of science to live a more profound and meaningful life. And I hope that my contribution in this Wilmette course will help you to do that as well. Thank you.